That night started like every other shift. Quiet. Slow. Empty. I had been working at that gas station for almost 6 months by then, and nothing interesting ever really happened after midnight. Most nights were just me wiping counters, restocking shelves, and waiting for the clock to move faster. The station sat off a lonely stretch of highway surrounded by patches of woods and empty roads that barely saw traffic once it got late. During the day the place felt normal enough. But at night it became something else entirely. The fluorescent lights inside made everything feel too bright while outside looked pitch black beyond the pumps. It always felt like the darkness stopped just a few feet away from the building. Like anything could be standing out there watching and you would never know. That night, I was alone. My coworker had called out sick and my manager told me I could handle the closing shift myself since it was usually dead on weekdays anyway. I didn't care at first. I actually liked being alone most nights because it meant less drama and less people bothering me. I brought headphones, snacks, and figured the shift would fly by like usual. Around 9 p.m., a few truckers stopped in for drinks and cigarettes. One old guy bought lottery tickets and complained about gas prices for 10 straight minutes. Just normal stuff. Nothing felt unusual yet. Around 9:40 the first weird thing happened. The phone rang. I answered automatically while stocking candy behind the counter. The moment I picked up I heard breathing. Slow breathing. At first I thought the line was bad or maybe somebody but dialed the store. Then a voice spoke. Low. Drawn out. Fake sounding, almost. Like somebody intentionally trying to sound creepy in the dumbest way possible. Are you alone tonight? I rolled my eyes instantly because the voice sounded ridiculous. Like a bad horror movie impression. I laughed and said nice try whoever this is. Then I hung up. I honestly assumed one of my friends found out I was working alone and decided to mess with me. It wouldn't have been the first time. I texted the group chat jokingly asking which one of them was pretending to be Ghostface from Scream. Most of them responded confused. A couple laughed. One said he was at work. Another sent a picture from his couch. I figured they were lying to keep the joke alive, so I ignored it and went back to work. 10 minutes later the phone rang again. This time the second I answered the voice immediately spoke. Why did you hang up on me? The way he said it made me pause for a second. The fake horror voice was still there, but something underneath it sounded more serious now. More controlled. I forced a laugh and said because your impression sucks. There was silence for a second. Then he laughed softly. Not loudly. Not playful. Just this quiet calm laugh that made my skin crawl for reasons I couldn't explain. Then he said something that instantly changed my mood. You shouldn't be rude to someone watching you. My stomach tightened immediately. I looked toward the windows without thinking. Outside everything looked empty. Just gas pumps under flickering lights and darkness beyond them. I hung up without saying another word. Suddenly the store felt colder than before. I told myself it was still just a prank. Somebody trying too hard to scare me. But for the first time that night, I started paying attention to the windows behind me. Customers still came and went for the next hour, but every quiet moment made me uneasy. Every time the automatic doors opened unexpectedly, I jumped slightly. Every time headlights passed on the road outside, I looked up immediately. The phone rang again around 10:20. I didn't want to answer it this time, but eventually, I picked up anyway. The voice sounded amused now. Getting nervous. I stayed quiet. Then he said something that made my chest tighten. The store gets really quiet after 10, doesn't it? I slowly looked around. He was right. The station was completely empty at that exact moment. No customers. No cars outside. Just me standing alone under fluorescent lights. I hung up again immediately, but now my hands actually felt shaky. I texted my friends again, asking seriously if one of them was outside messing with me. Every single one denied it. One of my friends even called me directly, sounding genuinely confused. He told me nobody was pranking me and suggested I stop answering the phone if it was bothering me that much. I laughed it off while talking to him, but deep down something already felt wrong. Around 10:45, I started noticing noises outside. At first it sounded normal. A tap somewhere near the building. Probably branches moving in the wind. Then a scraping sound near the sidewall. Then what sounded like footsteps on gravel behind the dumpster area. Every noise instantly grabbed my attention now. I kept checking outside through the windows but saw nothing except darkness. The security cameras outside were old and blurry, especially at night. Huge blind spots surrounded parts of the building. Still I kept flipping through the monitors, expecting to catch somebody hiding outside laughing at me. Nobody appeared. Then the phone rang again. This time I almost didn't answer. But curiosity got the better of me. The second I picked up the voice whispered something that made my blood run cold. "I can see you checking the cameras." I froze. I looked immediately toward the monitors behind the counter. Nobody could possibly know I was doing that unless they were nearby. My mouth suddenly felt dry. I tried forcing confidence into my voice and asked who the hell he was. The caller ignored the question completely. "You keep looking toward the back door." Another pause. "You should probably stop doing that." Then the line went dead. I stood there frozen, holding the phone long after the call ended. Every instinct in my body suddenly screamed that this wasn't funny anymore. I started checking every lock in the store, even though we were still technically open. I kept peeking through the windows, expecting somebody to appear out of the darkness. Around 11:30 the front door opened suddenly, and the sound made me physically jump. A man walked inside slowly. At first glance he looked completely normal. Maybe late 20s. Average build. Clean clothes. Nothing obviously threatening about him. But something about the way he moved immediately made me uncomfortable. He didn't greet me. Didn't look around casually like normal customers did. He just wandered silently through the aisles while keeping his head slightly lowered. I pretended to stay busy while secretly watching him through the security monitor. He picked up random items then put them back down. He drifted from aisle to aisle with no real purpose. More than once I caught the top half of his face peeking above shelves while he looked directly toward the counter. Not casually either. Intentionally. The longer he stayed, the worse the feeling in my stomach became. He spent almost 10 minutes inside before finally approaching the counter holding only a small bag of chips. The entire walk toward me felt strange. Calm. Controlled. Like he wasn't nervous at all. Like he already knew something I didn't. Neither of us spoke. I scanned the chips silently. Then I looked up. He was staring directly into my eyes. Not blinking. Not smiling. Just staring. The silence between us suddenly felt suffocating. I remember hearing the buzzing fluorescent lights above us louder than anything else. Finally he reached into his pocket slowly and handed me cash without breaking eye contact. Then something even worse happened. The store phone rang. Right beside me. The man never reacted to it. He just kept staring at me while the phone rang over and over. Every hair on my arms stood up. Slowly I reached toward the phone without taking my eyes off him. My hand actually trembled slightly picking it up. I answered quietly. The same distorted voice whispered into my ear. "He's smiling now." My heart nearly stopped. Because the second I heard those words, the man in front of me slowly smiled. Not naturally either. It spread across his face slowly and deliberately, like he enjoyed watching the fear hit me in real time. I dropped the phone instantly. The man finally grabbed the chips and turned toward the exit. Right before stepping outside, he stopped at the doorway. Without fully turning around, he tilted his head slightly toward me and said something in his normal voice for the first time all night. "Lock your doors." Then he walked outside into the darkness. I stood frozen for several seconds before rushing toward the security monitors. I watched him circle around the side of the building toward the wooded area beside the station. Then he disappeared into one of the camera blind spots completely, and never came back out. I waited. 30 seconds. 1 minute. 2 minutes. Nothing. That was the moment panic fully set in. I locked the front doors immediately, even though we still had 20 minutes before closing. My hands shook while pulling the metal lock into place. I texted my family and friends telling them there was someone outside and that I was genuinely scared now. One of my friends offered to come sit with me until closing, but he lived almost 40 minutes away. The next 10 minutes felt endless. Every tiny sound outside made me flinch. I kept imagining footsteps near the windows. Shadows moving beside the pumps. Every time headlights passed on the highway, my heart jumped thinking somebody was pulling in. Then suddenly the lights inside the store flickered. Once. Twice. Then half the building went dark. My chest tightened instantly. The refrigerators shut off for a second before buzzing back to life. One entire row of ceiling lights near the back remained dark though. The store suddenly looked wrong. Uneven shadows stretched between aisles now. Dark corners where there shouldn't have been any. Then I heard knocking. 3 slow knocks. Coming from the back door. I froze completely. Another 3 knocks echoed through the store. Not loud. Calm. Patient. Like whoever stood outside knew I was listening. I backed away slowly while staring toward the hallway leading to the stockroom. My breathing sounded too loud now. I grabbed my phone ready to call the police, but before I could dial anything the knocking stopped. Silence filled the building again. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stared at the screen for several seconds before answering. The voice sounded almost amused now. You locked the wrong door. The line disconnected immediately. At that exact moment something slammed violently against the side of the building outside. I nearly screamed. Another loud bang echoed from somewhere near the dumpsters. Then footsteps. Fast footsteps. Circling the building. I rushed toward the monitors, desperately flipping through cameras trying to see movement outside, but the grainy footage barely showed anything useful. Then for 1 second, I caught movement near the edge of camera 4. A dark figure standing beside the building just outside one of the blind spots. Watching the store. Watching me. Then the figure stepped backward into darkness and disappeared again. I couldn't do it anymore. Midnight finally hit and I decided I was leaving immediately. I didn't care about finishing closing duties anymore. I grabbed my backpack and keys while keeping my eyes glued to the windows. My car sat parked near the side of the building under one weak parking lot light. The walk to it suddenly felt impossible. I unlocked the front door slowly. The cold night air hit my face instantly. Everything outside looked dead silent. No movement near the pumps. No shadows near the woods. Nothing. I stepped outside and quickly locked the door behind me. Then I ran. Halfway to my car, I heard it. Footsteps. Fast footsteps slapping against pavement behind me. Not sprinting. Fast walking. Somehow that sounded worse. I turned. The same man emerged from around the corner of the building, moving directly toward me with that same awful smile stretched across his face. I threw myself into my car so hard I nearly missed the seat entirely. I locked the doors and started the engine with shaking hands. The second the car turned over, I slammed into reverse and sped backward out of the parking lot. As I pulled away, I looked once into the rearview mirror. The man stood perfectly still beneath the gas station lights watching me leave. Still smiling. Still staring. And just before I turned onto the highway, I noticed something else standing near the woods behind him. Another figure. Watching too.